Did you know that sometimes a level 1 Yuangu can be more useful for Jinhsi than a level 80 Jinlin? Hi, my name is Shadow, and in this video I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks that made a huge difference when using Jinhsi in different situations, and that help me maximize her damage whenever possible. Tip number 1. The grapple will be your best friend during most of the battles. Once you get into Incarnation mode, activate your grapple and immediately start your 4th basic attack sequence. What this will do is allow you to perform her attacks in a higher place than usual, avoiding the attacks of vehicles in most of the content without being forced to interrupt your rotation somehow. Definitely a great option to consider if you are aiming for a non-hit run or just reduce possible damage you could take in general. As a plus, if you want to feel extra safe and don't mind following this particular rotation, Yue will increase the elevation a little bit more. So, the rotation would look as following. Use Overflowing Radiance to enter into Incarnation mode, then summon Yue and almost immediately use Grapple. Afterwards, you can continue performing Crescent Divinity and the rest of the rotation. As you can appreciate, after summoning Yue, it will leave a short trace of Whirlwind that will help Jinhsi get slightly higher than if you only use the Grapple for this. But definitely this last option is not something you need to worry about if you don't feel like adjusting your rotation or if you simply forget to use it due to the excitement of the battle. Tip number 2. When in Incarnation mode, if you notice you are still missing some Incandescence points when getting ready to use Illuminous Epiphany, consider swapping to another character in between your basic attacks to get full charge. Fortunately, by doing this, you won't lose the basic attack chain if you execute this decently fast. This way, you can always secure max damage on your Illuminous Epiphany and make fights less tight damage wise. Definitely this is something worth considering when you're in need of just a little bit more of damage and the boss has very few HP left when the time runs out. Tip number 3. Her different resonance skills can be activated outside the battle and we can use this aspect to get advantage in some of the content this game has to offer. To be more specific, most of the times you could either get ready and start the battle with Overflowing Radiance or Illuminous Epiphany. When do you actually want to do this? So far, from personal experience I can say I find this useful for 2 reasons mainly. When you want to start the battle with a strong move and help yourself making the DPS check less tight, or when the mechanics right at the beginning of the battle won't allow you to perform your full rotation safely. Let me share an example for you on how I needed to adjust myself with this in order to perform better in different scenarios. First, here we have the Tactical Hologram Crownless. This fight is pretty straightforward and I managed to actually perform my full rotation at the beginning of the battle without any issues at all. I could still start my battle with Illuminous Epiphany if I really wanted to, but it was not a must since I had plenty of time to finish my whole rotation and swap to my next character without too much trouble. Now, let's move on to the Tactical Hologram Phalian Berengal and try to start with the same tactic as with Crownless. As you can see, right at the beginning of the battle I need to evade continuous attacks, making it difficult to sustain my rotation smoothly. However, if I start the battle with my rotation already started, you can appreciate how I have more time to perform Illuminous Epiphany and switch to Jinlin, which I find useful at that specific time for evading and also to build her Forte at the same time, which will come in handy later on in order to build Incandescence points for Jinhsi. This was just a quick example of how you can use this adjustment if the content allows it, so that you can make use of her kit at your own convenience and get an advantage not only in damage but also performance wise. Quick note before moving on to the next point. I know this strategy will have more benefit for people that has S2 Jinhsi since it would allow them to hit with max Illuminous Epiphany right away. However, as I already stated, you also want to put yourself in a comfy situation where you don't want to lose some performance in general. Also, if you find yourself in a position where you are almost there and are about to clear a specific content, maybe building up max Incandescence points might be worth the time to invest before every attempt. Tip number 4. Maybe most of the times you will engage in battle trying to start your rotation from scratch, and that's completely fine and normal. But, if you want to get the maximum damage possible, for the next rotations always try to start those with intro skill, since you will be gaining an average of 13% more damage compared to a rotation that doesn't start with it. Even if we don't look at the math, It still makes complete sense since a couple of the bonuses she gained comes right after she performs her intro skill, and achieving this is actually pretty simple. There are few characters that can regen their concerto energy pretty fast, but sticking to the units that have a great synergy with Jinhsi, Verena is actually great fulfilling this task, especially if you have some photosynthesis energy on her already. What I would usually do to generate concerto energy fast is the following. Perform her resonance liberation if available, followed by her resonance skill and echo, jump and launch some meter attacks that will consume her photosynthesis energy, increasing your concerto energy even more. If you're missing little energy for your resonance liberation, you can adjust and start with the resonance skill and echo instead. As you can see, getting her auto skill ready is relatively easy with this little rotation. While going through harder content or longer fights, you will notice how by the time you get back again to Verena, you will have your concerto energy and resonance liberation charge already advanced, so getting them ready in order to swap to Jinhsi shouldn't be that hard. Mortefi can be another example of a good character that can achieve this easily, but to be honest you will likely bring other units with Jinhsi instead, which leads us to our following point. Final tip. Damage wise, the choice a lot of people have for the last point in the team is Jinlin. Her kit is really useful to generate incandescence points for Jinhsi, and her damage alone in general is better than other prospects we could consider. Even where her multipliers are enough reason to have her in Void Thunder, there is nothing wrong to use her in the Moonlit Clouds one if that goes according to your own strategies or likes. Nonetheless, as weird as it may sound, sometimes a level 1 Yuanwu can be more useful than her, and this definitely is worth bearing in mind when coming up with a strategy for a specific content. At the end of the day, let's remember Jinhsi is a heavy DPS carry, and what it matters is to find that teammate that will help her get the incandescence point faster under specific circumstances and support her by increasing her damage in general. Anyways, when is better to use Yuanwu? When you want to generate incandescence faster and focus more on evading attacks. Reason is because with Yuanwu you just press E and start landing attacks, while with Jinlin you need to build up her Forte bar, which may delay the team rotation by some seconds. And when you want to free Jinlin in order to use her in another team. This point is mainly for Tower of Adversity content, but it's still a valid one. If you want to make his participation even better and don't mind spending some resources on him, you can activate his inherent skill Reserved Confidence, which will make the range of your resonance skill slightly bigger, making his task easier. The only slight disadvantage with him is that his concerto energy regen is somewhat slow. Therefore, don't expect that you will proc a lot both the Moonlit Cloud and Impermanence Huron effects, since those are conditioned by the use of the Outro skill. I wouldn't worry too much about this, since you only want him for the coordinated attacks and you will end up using Jinhsi's intro skill from Verena, as explained in the previous topic. I've been using Jinhsi pretty much for everything lately, and, to be honest, it's amazing how easy to understand is her gameplay, and more when it comes with a huge damage output. I think this is the very first unit I would consider a must pull in Wuthering waves, since it would be crazy that Kura Games decides to give us a new character with the same level of damage pretty soon. If you found this video useful, consider liking and sharing this video since it will help my channel a lot. So I will appreciate your support on this and will talk to you in the next one. See ya!